Hello, and hopefully my voice is good. It looks like it is. Welcome to the third special episode of the HaloEra Podcast, Spoilercast edition. This time, we're going to be talking about Halo the Series Season 2, Episode 4, Reach. Joining me, like usual, is my co-host, Nick. How's it going, man?
Pretty well.
And also a few other familiar faces if you've been watching the last few episodes, or if you just watch our channel in general. I'll let them introduce themselves real quick, and then we'll jump right into it because there's a fair bit to talk about this time. And for anyone watching, please let me know if my audio is too quiet. I'm looking at the bar. Looks okay. Looks okay on my
Sounds fine to me.
But yeah, starting with John. I know it's been a long night for you, and I know you're going to have some interesting opinions for us. How are you feeling tonight? You're muted, sorry.
He's muted. My God.
Off to a bad start.
Professional.
I'm going to try and not be too much of a negative.
It's cool, man. Speak your piece.
Well, we'll get into it. We will. But
indeed.
I hated it, and it sucked. All right. Anyway.
Also,
Hi, Amanda.
Also joining us is Amanda. Always good to have you here.
Hi.
How's your day been?
I'll just be over here enjoying the episode.
And of course, last but not least, is Jesse, who I don't know how he's been keeping the events of this episode secret for the past month or so. Like, I'd have been dying to talk to someone about it.
Imagine having just watched a couple of other things today and not being able to talk about it for a long time. It gets frustrating, but I have been well trained for it thanks to reviews, doing those all the time, working on things. Can't say shit outside of the Discord where we have all agreed to embargoes. But yes, I loved episode 4 even more on like my fourth watch because I rewatched a lot of them when I was going through for the review. And when I watched it with Amanda, I was like, yeah, man, this is so good. And I know John's going to hate it. You mind he talks about the keys maneuver and that dumb shit in that mediocre book and that kind of okay story in the video game that didn't really make sense. It's like, yeah, no. That's why in the review, I literally wrote, I think season 2 is a far better TV show that people who didn't really like season 1 are going to hate just as much, if not more. And I was talking about him.
Okay.
How did you know?
How?
I spent some time with him. Yeah.
Well, you spend some time with the little nitpicky bald man.
I'm not going to nitpick. I've got genuine complaints, and I think they're valid. But we'll let Aarsal drive it.
Sorry, I realized I forgot to change 3 to 4. Ugh, give me 1 second.
You've ruined it. The episode's ruined, much like the episode 4 of Halo season.
Start
But okay,
over.
this time around, I know the last few episodes we've been jumping around a lot. What we're talking about, I'm going to try and keep it more focused. We'll get to it in the order the episode did, and then when we get to those big moments, we'll talk for them as much as we need to. You know what I mean? I chose more.
So
point
about the
form.
big finale with a huge... good.
Okay, and jumping right into it is we start the show off with Vanic looking at his birds, and I'm just gonna assume those are his birds because he's named them. Even Keith, who there's clearly some bad blood.
They showed a little bit more of his humanity.
Yeah, they did. And then, boom, explosions in the distance.
We got to see Vanic's heart.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Explosions in the distance. Another wide view angle shot of Reach, or I guess Reach City. Even though technically this season they haven't used the words Reach City. Maybe they're just like kind of hoping people forgot that they named this thing.
Yeah,
Reach
they've talked about areas of Reach, but I think in season 1 they just said Reach City.
Yeah,
in the text, and everyone laughed at it, and they haven't.
Even though it is a very normal thing, but whatever. Moving on really quick. So this was interesting. Let's talk about this. The first interaction between Saurin and Halsey, where Ackerson leaves Saurin with Halsey, I think assuming that Saurin's anger and hatred and vengeance, blah, 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 would basically make him just kill her on the spot, is what I assumed, is why he left.
Little did he know that they are the least scary pirates.
Straight up, right?
Yeah. Saurin led a band of merry morons who thankfully Quan Ha killed. Yeah. The only one who tried was Antares. He was the only one who really tried to not just be mustache twirling, unlike most of the, day players at a local theater that were his crew.
What did you guys think of it? Like, was it expected? Like the fact that Saurin, just his big anger was just like, yeah, whatever, you're short. I'm like, I'm just not,
Yeah, from So like, I knew that he wasn't gonna,
of course,
beat the shit out of her. Like, just from a writing point of view and stuff, I was like, okay, this is kind of one of those tropey moments. It's I'm not trying to nitpick it, but it's like you kind of knew that it was probably gonna go this way. They were gonna kind of linger, talk about the past, and stuff like
that. John, man, you got some opinions?
They do talk about they do that several times throughout the episode.
Fair enough.
I know, like the world's being destroyed right now, but can we talk about our feelings for a minute and get a bit of exposition, maybe a little personal tale out? And it just every time it felt like, what? It just doesn't. Okay. Anyway, nitpicking.
Okay.
Carry on.
He technically at that point did not know what was going on.
That's true. Just
the moment he
explosions,
did, he got in. He shifted into action, back into more soldier form. But at that point, he's
not
like,
the kind of person that is going to be scared. So, and he's gone a long time without getting any answers. So, I mean, he's like, wow, a lot of shit's happening. But he's like, he's not panicking. He's not scared. So
that's the one line where I think we're at the top of the stairs, right? And she's like, she asks, I think she says like, you don't have anything? And he just doesn't even answer. He just looks at her. He's like, let's go do the fight.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine. But yeah, there was the weird stop off in the antique store.
Oh wait, we'll get there.
Okay, we're not there yet.
No. Okay,
No,
just
not
really quick
close.
with this interaction with Saurin. I really liked it as a character because they showed that he's not just like this vengeful, unthinking person. He shows up. He doesn't really want to kill Halsey because if he did, he would have shot her the moment or beat her up the moment he got there. Right? Mm-hmm. It's more like I am my person, and I really don't like this person. I don't want to see her free. Blah blah blah. But either way, I could talk about that for a while. Let's move on. Okay, so next thing up, explosions. Perez loses her family. Chief comforts her by saying, "Yo, hey, get up. We gotta move. Let's go. We don't got."
Yeah. If you call that comforting,
sweet.
It's like they're dead. Let's move.
I know. I was like, whoa.
Well, so the way I took it, and you got to remember, it's this version of everyone. So for him, it has just always been the moment you're dead. That's kind of it.
Yeah. Also in the combat scenario, it's like
move on,
no time.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of perfect for him. I didn't really have any place for that. I was like, okay, yeah, he understands that she's like, struggling with her, but he knows that there's a kind of a bigger picture going on. Yeah,
and he did let her go, and he was just going to take off.
Yeah, I like that.
I caught that
in a
explosion
rewatch
happened,
where he's like, "Sure, you go."
Because he's like,
thing.
it's like, okay, if you're gonna go, you're gonna go. I have to get to fleet comm. But then everything blows up. He's like, oh shit, okay, I'll go. Let me go check on her. And her entire family's building is now completely gone. Let's go, idiot.
Crater.
Okay. And Amanda, do you want to add anything to that, or good?
I was when I was talking to Jesse last night, I was like, oh, good, you've already seen the episode, so I can talk to you the whole way through it. Because normally he gets mad because I want to talk through everything. But I was like, if somebody did that to me, I would be really mad. If somebody was like pulling me away, I'm like, even if I knew my family was blown up, and if somebody was still trying to pull me away when I wanted to go there, I would like lose my shit.
Yeah, I liked her line.
I see you, like, BT Maverick in chat.
Yeah,
he's calling us false advertising because Kay Asante is not actually here. We've got Bollywood Kay Asante. All right, we're covered. Just because oh man, it's our knockoff.
I was gonna say I liked her line of like there's no training for this. These aren't Marines, right? This is like my own family. You can't train for losing your family or like your loved ones. That was a good line. And in general, I liked Perez's character this episode a lot in her acting. But anyways, okay, jumped right into the first big action sequence of the episode. An episode full of action sequences, which is Chief friggin' jumping the camo elite into a building and like having this hand-to-hand unarmed fight with this guy. What did you guys think of that overall?
That was a good bit.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
As far as John can go.
It's fine.
I'm very happy that the CGI is holding up because obviously I just got to watch the screeners at a really shitty 1080p bitrate. Which can mask a lot of problems, but I have to say, like, seeing it in 4K and HDR, Dolby Vision's like, ooh, it's pretty.
You say that, and when I watched it, I was like, I noticed that it was pretty, like the lighting and CGI was a bit. It seemed too much Sci-Fi Channel in this particular scene for me, And but the rest of the show and stuff was great. But I noticed in this one, I was just like,
it's unnatural.
too well lit for this.
I see what you mean. I feel like the fight is a little unnatural feeling because it's kind of meant to be. These things move faster than like we know
when you have
to move.
Giant aliens with like 4 lips, like it's not gonna look real.
Which he grabs.
Where he grabs
by the
the
way.
mandibles. Yes, like I was like, that's cool. That's badass. But
oh man.
This armor here too, kind of like reminds me of or just the helmet and stuff mainly. It reminds me a lot of the
Mike Amanda.
The
sirens are very loud.
Someone's got something. But yeah, no, for sure.
Jesse. At last.
I was like, so
we live next to a major road, and so we get sirens a lot.
no, there's a fire station like
That
a
makes
mile
sense.
down the road.
But about the armor, it does kind of feel like the elites we've seen so far in this season specifically are like more like friggin' camo focused, more like we show up, we do our job, we leave. Kind of, we're not here to like fight like a big war. Is what the feeling I got. With
These ones, it's all been like commando teams that are going in to do a specific task every time. So, like with Visegrad, they were going there to
take out the.
Well, they were also at Sword Base at the same time, like sort of like a split things up. Can't really pay attention to what one's doing because you're going to stop the other one. But and then you cut all the comms to make it even worse. And at the other thing, it was like learning how do you cut human comms. So they've been very directed.
Okay, let's move on really quick. So this part was kind of interesting. Here it is right here, which is Chief talks to Perez
John
about basically his video game factor, right? Where he's like, every time I go into a battle, I know we might lose someone, but it's not going to be me. It was that discussion with him. And I know John doesn't like, stop, let's talk a little bit in the middle of like a giant thing happening. I got that for sure, but I did really like this discussion.
See, I didn't because I found her acting to be weird. Like I don't know what it was. It looked like her arms were like being held up by strings. And she was like, "Don't you feel anything?"
I didn't even look at her. Man, I was looking at the guy.
It really like.
John's fear of puppets, really.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But I consider the context of what they're discussing, like or what's going on, and I found this whole 5-minute scene or 3-minute scene, like this discussion, and then the old lady following scene, just completely bizarre. Like
you know why? And I'm going to say this because I'm reading this book, and I'm going to say without spoiling anything, it's about the didact who's his wife. The librarian. 343 has a hard boner for making Master Chief special because of the Gene song and printed by the librarian. So I take this version of that in the show where there's something special about him. Why can he interact with these things when only Maki can? Why is it just these two? It's like I think it's their forerunner magic.
Like in this specific case, you're Perez, right? You've seen Chief kick butt.
I am.
Right? And like he's in armor, it's a little bit more expected. You just saw him jump a friggin' elite, manhandle him, and break his neck out of armor, full confidence, not a worry in the
They've
world.
always been told it's that suit, it's that look of Master Chief, not that there's like a regular, that was person
going
there.
Through my thought with Perez is she's like, how did you do that? Like, you look like me right now. You're not a monster, you're not a machine. What the hell happened there? That's what I took away from her dialogue in this scene.
I do feel like the Spartans in the TV show are considering like they pretty much live in the suits from every other lore aspect. I know in the books they take them off, but they're often described as incredibly pale, like really shaved heads,
and like antisocial, right? I think that aspect is still in the show too.
Yeah, but I get it for a show perspective. You need to have a little bit of like humanity to them. Personally, I would have loved to have seen like them look like absolutely horrific. So that when the helmet did come off, you would have had this like, oh my god, what have we done to you? Where is your humanity? That would have been a more interesting aspect to pursue than they're just A-list Hollywood actors over here. Don't worry about it. Look, they look great.
They're not really A-list.
We're season two. We're season 2. We are long past helmet off discussion. We got
It's not the helmet off. I don't have a problem with the helmet coming off. My argument is, if we want to talk about the humanity of the characters and what we did to them, because that's a core subject of what Spartans are. Like, they're not just like superhero great guys. That like we as a race, we, you know, the higher ups, we kidnapped kids, clone, like that's a huge aspect. But then when all their stuff comes off, they do just look like regular dudes.
When their shirts come off, though, which happens a lot because Pablo Schreiber's friggin' jacked.
Yeah,
that's when you see all the huge scarring and stuff that people go over.
Like I appreciate they put the scarring in there, but they do look just aside from that perfectly.
They did get very big people.
Yeah,
I think
I don't ever got the impression in the games or any of the books that the Spartans were like these alien-looking things.
Not alien looking, just.
I mean, Chief has a moment in Fall of Reach where he's wearing friggin' like official gear, all right, and he's talking to his superiors. Like, I never got the impression that he was like this like, monster in there. You know,
it's not monster's the wrong word. Just very like hasn't had a normal life, and you can
like very socially awkward and things like. I mean, have you seen Chief this episode? Hey, we gotta go. Your parents are dead. Who give a flip? Let's go. We're going to flip.
Yeah, and also he's like, by the way, I'm really lucky. And so I would call that pretty socially awkward. I mean, it's kind of not the moment for this.
It's like, how can you do all this? It's like, I'm a character.
It was kind of like a weird, like when they talked, just kind of.
It's
felt
his
weird
way of trying to comfort somebody. It seems like.
Yeah.
How do you do this? I got plot armor, lady. I don't know what to tell you.
Can I say?
Yeah, Jesse. Go
no spoilers. Can't say anything. I would just say that I feel that those themes are not lost. Like it's not. There are still going to be things about like it's not like Halsey good all of a sudden. I didn't have that impression after 4. It was just they did humanize her because she did really love keys.
Yeah.
Which obviously we'll get to later.
Of course.
But like they're humanizing people, but not making them good. Like they are showing there is more to it, and that definitely I think is something. And I felt it would happen after 4, and wink, wink. Like there's just they're going for character development where if you don't like something in the moment, it might feel a little better later.
Okay, yeah, which is how television works, right? Yeah. Really quick on this part of the same scene is of course the old woman. I do agree with you here, John. I think the scene went on a little too long.
Way too.
But
they had an Xbox in it.
Right.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up too.
That's the coolest part of the scene right here. Is this part right there? They put an OG Halo limited edition Xbox in this scene in like this antique shop from Earth.
Very good. Ha ha ha. But yeah, the scene just fell completely flat. It was like
kind of strange.
It was someone going, we need.
The lady wasn't a good actress, really. She was mediocre. It wasn't great lines, though.
Like I got the.
I'm trying to think of a way to explain the scene, but I can't really.
I mean,
it's
showing.
I mean, I know like bridging the gap of past and present, but it's like, is this a time and place? I don't.
They wanted to make you think and reflect in the middle of all this chaos, but they did it for just a little too long. If it was just like this stop in, hey, we got to go. No, I don't want to, and then they don't do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fine, but the back and forth and I'm going to explain how old this fucking fire axe is. Wow, look at this. And they're both just like, who gives a shit?
You're currently in like a colonizer like government right now. I'm just
everything I have is from the time frame of the show because props would be really hard to figure out when they're from like 200 years in the current actual future.
Yeah.
That's the thing that always like music and props are always just within the last 40, 50 years on super in the future stuff. And it's like, stop doing that.
Oh, you like the old crap, don't you, Sarge? Yeah. But this scene was I got what they were going for, kind of showing that like the people of Reach are more than just like the people. There's history here, things like that here, blah blah blah. And I feel like the scene might have hit harder if the previous season spent more time developing the people of Reach. You know what I mean? But they're kind of like, we just got to quickly show this. People are gonna die. Move on. Is the impression
this episode brought everyone together on Planet Reach as glass.
yeah. Okay. I'm gonna skip over the Saurin and Halsey stuff for just a little bit until we get to the juicy stuff, and then Chief and Prez.
I will say their frag grenades way stronger than the game. My God,
holy crap!
I was watching.
But they're
fucking fireball.
They're consistent with it. Like it is just this. I'm throwing a little ball of C4 every time, but it's Jesus Christ. They are future grenades, fine.
To be fair,
I was like,
holy
holy shit!
Placed grenade in Halo Infinite can instantly kill you, like a perfectly placed grenade. It's
funny you mention it. Like I think I counted something like 6 or 7 what I would describe as a smash cut. Right, so the grenade's gone off, and everyone's on the floor again. Like,
that happened a lot.
And I'm like,
or just
again?
an explosion. Yeah.
It drove me nuts. And like they tried to do some, fun cinematic, one take shots.
Tried.
Tried.
Nah.
Failed.
What TV shows have you seen that have action at this
Miserably
level?
Failed.
Even Game of Thrones' so-called greatest fight ever was like, for the most part, pretty disjointed and not really that fun to watch, in my opinion. But let's just talk about this action scene in general. Chief meets up with Riz and Perez and Lewis and the massage therapist guy. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, bro. Rest in peace.
Dorian, Dillian, Darian, something like that.
They meet up. They fight a little bit. Lewis using the Noob Tube was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
He was pretty good with it, though.
He was pretty good with it. And also, he can't hear them. I mean, there's literally a Spartan.
Right, I guess. Yeah. There were a couple times when he missed some shots. And I was like, it would have been so much better if they would have made him land every single shot. I think.
There's the hallway scene, fight scene a little bit, where you got elites running through.
Danilo. I had to look his name up. He deserves it.
This whole shot is, I think, for the most part, single take. There was this one shot. Let me see if I took a screenshot of it.
You can see the stitches. Like, it's not Children of Men where they just hit insane amounts of CG work to hide the stitches. It's just like, it's gone to shadow out of shadow and we're in a second cut type of thing.
That stuff. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It keeps the pace. I don't care if it's actually one shot or not, like The Bear for an entire episode.
This scene right here, when they're running and they're moving forward, trying to like move forward, and a guy just gets literally disintegrated.
Yeah,
with that one. You saw that, right?
Yeah. I was like, man.
Do they have plasma grenades?
I mean, I think there's this plasma firing from places, probably like plasma launchers or something.
There was
plasma grenades.
Like most of the explosions were Wraith mortars. Like most of the big explosions,
that's what I'm assuming.
They were just Wraith mortaring because they didn't have air support yet because they the Mac cannons were still
you know
up.
what?
Which
it wouldn't
they talked
surprise
about.
me if that was like even a Seraph, just like 5 shots coming in from the sky. They're smaller. Like you can't really tell.
Well,
the
I think
picture
they said they couldn't get the fleet anywhere. That's why everyone was able to escape, essentially, because their fleet couldn't come in until the Mac cannons were knocked down.
My bad. Seraph is too big. I'm thinking of What are the things called? The smaller
Banshees?
things. No, not Banshees. One above Banshees. The ones in Infinite that you can destroy.
Phantoms.
Sorry, I'm thinking of Phantoms. My bad. Phantoms. That's half the guy's body in that screenshot, by the way. I tried to get one that showed a little better. Like, it's gone.
Oh, yeah. You can see his... That's booty.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Is that him? Like...
That's just half his body's gone. His other half the body's like, oh.
Plasma and needlers in this show.
Oof. More accurate.
Yeah.
More accurate.
I mean, I was gonna say though, like when he got disintegrated, my first thought was, "Oh, that's what the 400 weapons are supposed to do."
Yeah, right, exactly. Instantly thought Halo Infinite, and like your body just gets touched by like a teeny little 400 weapon. It's all gone.
Yeah.
That was like so that's what they were doing a lot in season 1, the very first episode. That was super gory.
Yes. Yeah.
When all those kids get blown up by the plasma. So I was like, Jesus Christ. And they started bringing it back. Like,
so I'm glad. Like the Covenant weapons and stuff like that are nasty things. Like I'm glad that they're showing that a little bit more. That it's like, it's a fucking giant heat.
Yes. Like a
stuff.
Like a ball of super hot. Like
I see John raring up to say, "Well, one shot doesn't disintegrate someone later."
Yeah. Well, that and I actually, it's one of the reasons I've always wanted to see Microsoft partner with DICE and do a Halo Battlefield crossover, but let DICE like do the plasma destruction. And like
that'd be really cool.
The Covenant carriers coming in, all of that stuff would be awesome. But
that'd be so compute heavy. Liquid destruction. Can you imagine that?
Let it happen.
Oh man. We got our first casualty of the episode, which is sorry, I forgot the name again. I'll be honest. Dylan.
Not Dylan.
Let's be all sad for the guy we've known for 2 episodes.
I'm not gonna. I know you don't agree with me, but this episode, this death, what I liked about it was how sudden it was. How like non-monumental. It's just, hey, it's war. This guy got hit by a plasma grenade.
They're like, oh wait, what happened to that guy?
Yeah, just died. Didn't make it.
But I mean, some people had to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets called plot armor otherwise. Like it's not like this. It doesn't have to be this big planned friggin' end of
we didn't know them that long,
thing every time.
They died.
I didn't realize we have K Sante in the chat and on our thumbnail. I'm sorry for using your image.
But anyway. we respectfully ask for your license likeness, please. Thank you.
This
forgot to
screenshot
earlier.
here, if you guys see it, this immediately I'm like, oh, that is so cool. When Riz throws a grenade in the hallway. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and then she jumps out the window.
No, but like this specific shot, like why I was like, that is so flipping cool. They've clearly got people that play the games making these stuff.
Oh, it's kind of where it like bounces around and stuff?
No, it ignited the Elite's plasma grenades. Right? She threw a frag grenade and there was a plasma grenade explosion like a second after.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that kind of now in the
my bad. The images are like sepia-ish because I'm trying to avoid friggin' demonetization. It's bluer. It's bluer and horribly flipped and sepia. Let's see if they get me this time.
They will.
Anyways, that's the second big action scene of that episode.
It was shit.
And then we do get our first look at a Wraith, which we have not seen before in the show.
I wish that they would have. I wanted to see more of it.
I know.
It left me wanting to be like. I was like, no, I want to see more of the Wraith.
I know.
It's like they kept on cutting away from it. I was like, no, show it more.
I feel like with Spartans not wearing their armor, you can't really take a Wraith down unless you got like 3 rocket launchers aimed at it. We do lose Lewis here too. I like this line, especially because it parallels later. Let's say I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
I think was his exact line.
Yeah,
second death.
That was actually said twice in this episode.
Yes, that.
Yeah,
what I just said.
Copy paste. That was the joke.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, hey! Dang, I couldn't. We did miss an iconic line as well, where Chief says he needs a weapon, which I think he said like 3 or 4 times already on this show. They keep saying it. Okay, anyways. And now this is going to be, I guess, a little more interesting. Is Maki showing up and taking Cortana? Let's talk about this so-called plot hole per se. What did you guys think when you first saw Maki with an even weirder haircut?
I cannot say anything about this other than.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Jesse's out. That's a good thing on my end. Because
we don't have a choice.
I got answers.
I mean, you can come over here, honey. I'll show them to you.
Yeah, Nick.
What? You show me what?
I didn't really like it as much. I was really hoping that Halsey would get Cortana and stuff, because I think like last I know he did some predictions of maybe how they might get out of there and stuff like that, and Cortana was kind of part of those predictions. So like when she got it, I was just like, oh my god, man, like where'd she come from in this giant maze of Oni? And
to be fair, before this we did see a bunch of dead Oni operatives, I'm assuming.
Before so they alluded that they've gone inside and stuff, but it was like
that's exactly never mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just like when I watched, I was like, dang it,
John. What do you think of that scene? Immediately,
he loved it. I mean, anything with Maki, he is just a huge fan of.
It's hard for me to like, and I apologize. I don't want to sound constantly negative, but
you're British.
It's fundamentally I hate the direction that they've chosen to go in. Like, and I can't.
What direction do you think they're going with that scene?
Like, just the whole, the convoluted nature of it, I guess, is just like it's constant forced conflict. Like, I just disagree with the whole premise of how they've chosen to do Halo in TV form. So it's really difficult for me. Like, I'm trying to find the positives, and I really enjoyed.
How do we do out so much?
I really enjoyed episode 1. I was okay on episode 2, and then
Okay, going back to the scene for a second. My immediate thought when I saw Cortana there, because immediately you're like, what the flip is she still doing on this planet, right? That's like the normal thought, I want to say. Like, he took
leave some key resource behind. Cole Protocol be damned.
Exactly. And how did Cortana herself not initiate the Cole Protocol, which she would have if she knew she was being captured, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Which is why I immediately think it's clearly a setup.
I was thinking that it was like, why didn't she do Cole Protocol? And then also my second thought was like, I was like, okay, well, now that they have Cortana, maybe she can get into their systems or whatever. Like that was kind of where my
there was in Halo Fall of Reach. I think I read this in a tweet earlier today. It's called Operation Red Flag, I think, right? The final operation of taking over a flipping Covenant ship, grabbing their nav data and using that to find like the heart of the Covenant. I think that's what it was. I'll have to double check it. My thought is clearly Cortana's left there as bait, right? I think the Covenant attacked specifically to get what, right? In like this deep friggin' Oni jungle, which we know, by the way, there's another item right next to flippin' where Halsey was from a previous episode in this season.
Yeah,
right?
The artifact.
The small artifact. And we know Maki or the Covenant want both. Small artifact's gone. Obviously, Ackerson took it, which the Covenant don't know that Ackerson and High Command are gone because he did it all pretty secretly, blah, blah, blah. But they left Cortana. I mean, come on. It's not like a super duper obvious plot hole. It's clearly on purpose. And if it's not, I'm willing to take the L on that later in the season.
I mean, they had to obviously do it intentionally for some reason. I mean, they have been trying to seed some stuff here and kind of keep this whole Oni story pretty secretive and stuff. Yeah. So that way, as the audience were like, oh, okay, that's why they did it. We might be mad in the moment, but then, like, once they reveal it, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I guess I can forgive you for leading me on.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Unless Amanda, you wanted to add something.
I feel like I was expecting more Cortana in the show.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like it's a big gap missing in the show.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a very intentional
I don't
choice
know what else.
To keep her.
It feels like
the
there's
season.
a Cortana-shaped hole in this series.
Like, and again, I don't like to go, well, in the books, but the representation of Cortana across all of their media has always been this, like, the best AI going, right?
Yeah,
can hack
she's
the
always
other
there.
AIs. And, they've just got her in a box. You know, like, and she had heart instead of being like, oh, yeah, she's in this, she's almost very compliant. She's lost a lot of the, especially the season 2 Cortana that we've seen.
You don't see that as super obvious. This isn't really Cortana that we know, even from the first season, let alone the games.
I don't know, man. I don't know what the hell they're writing. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, you might be right. That would be an interesting development. That, surprise, it is Cortana, but she's super ahead of you in the chess game of,
or she's just being used by
and...
Ackerson, right? I think next episode we'll get, some answers there, because if you look at the preview, you get a little bit of flashbacks of Chief from season 1, last episode, which is where Cortana's removed. So I think the very next episode we'll get some answers there.
Interesting.
But that was my impression. That's okay. Moving on.
I mean, it's got to come soon.
I did want to add
4 episodes, and we have no.
Yeah. Nick,
is this her first appearance in the sorry?
Second, technically, because we have Ackerson talking with her in a previous episode.
I was what you call it?
we lose you.
Well, yeah, no. So, one other part of that scene though, that I really liked was the Covenant or the sword through the window.
Yes,
I thought that was like
yes, I forgot to add that.
I just wanted to point that out because that was. I was like, okay, cool. We're seeing
very Phantom Menace.
Yeah. We're
that
seeing
character is named by the people that run the show. He is named on IMDb. Do you want to know his name?
Yeah, you know his real name or his title? You mean?
We know his title.
And his name
you
too.
Can tell from his armor, right? You can kind of.
He is the Arbiter.
Yeah, that is the Arbiter.
He's not this. And Kiki Wolfkill has said before, he is not Felvadam. He is not the Arbiter from the games. He is a new character.
Also,
the Arbiter is a role in Covenant society that an elite can assume, like Batman.
When they're really hated.
Yeah.
And when they've lost their honor.
And that is not a spoiler, because literally in Halo Declassified, the little short 15-minute episodes you go after, in there they're like, oh yeah, that's the Arbiter. Yeah, they just call him the Arbiter.
He's wearing the Arbiter armor. It's like, oh, that's the Arbiter.
And the character's name is Var Gatanai. Is the specific name of this specific Arbiter that we have. We have a super chat really quick from Spartan P451. I really preferred the Cortana from season 1, and I don't disagree with you because Cortana in season 1 was a character in the show. Right now, Cortana is not a character in season 2. In the first 4 episodes, she's not. She's just there for like 5 minutes total, I think, runtime, literally.
Yeah, it was nicer when they had her as a little bit more present.
Yeah.
So next up is, I guess, another very controversial part of this episode, which was essentially cementing in that we're not going to get them in their suits this episode. Why? Because turns out Ackerson took friggin' all of them. I think everyone watching this show was expecting them to get to FleetCom, get in the suits, kick some Spartan butt. Some Covenant butt. And he gets there and he says it. My first thought was like, oh, that sucks. Then I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like immediately, those were my two things. But what did you guys think? I don't want to go too long.
I thought it was like, I was like, man, like, of course they take the armors and stuff. It's like, really? But then I was like, well, I guess, they are very highly sophisticated suits of armors that cost a lot of money.
Yeah, they definitely are going with him.
And he did not like Silver Team. Like they've been setting up this whole season. They're not compliant. They don't do what he wants. He just looks at the suits as the important thing, and he literally said anyone could be in that suit. Wink, wink. So what I think of you,
John, go ahead.
Well, now this scene also contains the moment where, quite innocently, where's Kai? Well, if I'm reading between the lines, Kai's gone and joined an Ackerson.
Yep.
On this little jaunt, right? So, Spartan betrayal.
It's not betrayal.
She has no idea
she was
being attacked, right? Not
even so Chief's been detained, or stripped of his active duty. Yeah. So she's just like, I can't stick around here. I need to go do something. Do you have a mission for me? He's like, yeah, I do. Come with me. That's all she knows. She doesn't know anything about Reach. She knows none of it at that point. That's how I took it.
Yeah. She's also like, Silver Team is just falling apart, and I just need to go somewhere where I can actually do something.
Yeah, 100%.
Because she's the one he told that he saw Maki, and so even that, she's like, you saw a dead person? That's not great. I'm not going to rat you out or anything, but yeah.
Like, I do think the decision for them not to have the armor the whole episode was a bold one. It's the fall of Reach, and you don't have Spartans wearing armor. Holy crap. I think the reasoning why is rock goddamn solid. Like, it makes perfect
for this story
sense for this story, for the episodes we've seen. Ackerson's a piece of crap. He hates Spartan 2s. He's specifically Silver Team, and essentially leaving Silver Team on Reach with a Covenant invasion without their armor is a death sentence.
I don't disagree, but be honest with me. All of you, we were all disappointed.
A little bit, bamboozled, 100%.
A little bit? Like, come on, we were all like...
With the way this fight is going, I expect, because there's been things we see in trailers and whatnot, I expect the Reach fight isn't the end of like big fighting. We know there's a space battle
the reason
and
why
stuff
I was
potentially.
Never super disappointed. Like some parallels here with Wheel of Time season 2. The very last episode of that season had some good action scenes too, but it had a moment where like a really cool action scene in the books didn't happen, and like I got it. And I'm like I was okay with it, but I was disappointed. I'm like, ugh. The reason I didn't feel that with this one as much is because this is the mid-season finale, right? So like in a way, this is clearly not meant to be their big action, like their biggest action showpiece for the show. We still got more coming. That's why I'm okay.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I probably speak for a lot of Halo fans, myself included. Fall of Reach is a big deal, and I feel like everybody wanted a certain version of it, and in many aspects, for me, this just didn't deliver in any way, shape, or form on any front, and I'm like, oh. Okay. You know,
what about on the disappointment front?
Oh, in space,
there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I feel like the loss of the suits, it just encapsulates the dire situation.
Yeah.
So it just makes the team even a little bit more hopeless.
Yeah.
I mean, if they have their suits, they don't lose, right? Spartans on the ground with suits, you don't lose. Period. I mean, heck, in Fall of Reach, half the Spartans that died in the Fall of Reach, how'd they die? Friggin' falling. Right? Literally. Like falling to their deaths onto Reach. They lost half their people that way. The issue with like Fall of Reach in general is it's been done in so many different ways. People think of the Reach commercial. People think of the Reach video game. People think of the book. There's no one way to do it, is what I'm trying to say, I feel. You know?
If it was going to be similar to the games or the books, it has to just be the end of the season, and I don't think they wanted... They've got way more to tell for the story they've been doing. It's not just about losing Reach. Like there's way more going on. 343 loves evil, scheming Oni, and like they will They will find ways to push that all the time.
Like, if you're comparing this to the games, essentially this whole episode took place in the New Alexandria level of Reach, I believe, right? Essentially. A city being attacked, civilians being evacuated. Which is obviously not the entire fall of Reach, but to be honest, with the books, the fall of Reach, you don't see the fall of Reach. It happens off screen. Literally, you follow Chief going to do another mission, and then you hear, hey, when he gets back, everyone died, it's over, we lost the planet, it's done. And then boom, book ends. Like that's the fall of Reach, guys. In book 4.
It's open to interpretation.
Yeah. I don't know.
So that happens in later books. In Ghosts of Onyx, you get the perspective of Kelly and Fred as they're going into the planet. But the last thing we really see of the main team that went on ground to support was, I think, them just falling and a bunch of them dying, essentially.
Yep.
And then them meeting Halsey, and then that's it. What's interesting? Well, anyways, that's a whole different discussion. Okay, cat, chill. All right, moving on. They name drop the word Thermopylae, which is for those in chat who don't know, was the battle that the Spartans are essentially named after. It's the movie 300. That.
Yeah.
Got a choke point, but you got a weird little mutant guy who tells about the path behind to Xerxes guys, and you all get killed. Yeah. No matter how handsome and muscular you are.
Yep. And okay, now let's talk about Saurin and Halsey. Including them talking in the middle of the explosions happening and the little heart-to-heart and the admittingly weird, hey, how's your kid doing? That line was immediately, I'm like, what the flip, Halsey?
See, so I take it for her, she's just so scientific that, like, them being pissed, she didn't give a shit. She's like, well, I'd let you go. And he's like, no, you didn't. I escaped. And he's like, why do you think no one was guarding the hangar, buddy? Yeah. You're all beat up. You got your friggin' lobster claw. Like, you were awesome, but I needed them. I once you're broken, I push you away.
Taken the opportunity to play some mind games.
Yeah, no, she's humanized at times, but she is still a rotten piece of shit. I just take that every interaction with her. I take like that in this show, and I always feel vindicated. She is not a nice person at all. She is extremely focused on how can we defeat the Covenant. That's all she ends up really caring about outside of Keys and maybe her daughter.
Her attempt to bring up Kessler was like an attempt to be like almost make small talk in a way. Like, hey, you have a kid, right? How's he doing? Is he doing good? It's like, lady, are you serious?
I took it more as manipulative to disarm.
It's probably manipulative because I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, which I shouldn't. Like,
because if you're in a murderous rage and you bring in your child and your child's innocence and things like that, and are they live? Are they well? And he's just been kidnapped off a prison planet. Clearly, right? He's in like effectively orange jumpsuit kind of clothing.
Yep.
Like I figured that was her way of kind of being like disarming him using words rather than getting any kind of,
while also being genuinely intrigued because one of her Spartans
had a kid.
Didn't make it through. Yeah, they had a kid. She's like, oh shit, is he anything cool about him after all your augmentations?
Yeah.
Nick, what do you think?
Wink, wink.
Scientific aspect.
That for 100%. Kind of the way that she was kind of prodding about it, and I think she even said that she's like was interested in it.
Yeah, like pretty scientifically,
purely scientific.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, would it be interesting? Yeah. So, a Spartan having a kid? I mean, sure. Yeah. How is that? Is that kid, 6 foot tall?
Yeah. Right. Like, what's happening?
Age 11.
It's like before we die, I just need to know something.
Take a little notepad.
I need some answers.
I do think that she's arrogant enough to think like halfway, like right after she meets him and she realizes he's not going to kill her. In her mind, she's like, "Oh, he's not a threat anymore to me at all." Right. Which is why I don't think it was too manipulative in that sense. More just like, I'm alive. He's not going to kill me. Let's just get some information, I guess. Either way, it was an interesting discussion. I did like how she essentially said, "Yeah, we let you get away. You failed the augmentation. Yeah. They looked after you too much. Looked up to you too much. You want to leave? Go."
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting spin on it. So
you are essentially useless to her if you don't want to be a Spartan. Like, that's it. Yeah. She doesn't. Moment you're out, she's like, "Oh, okay, you're just a regular human." Ugh.
Okay, moving on. We're approaching the end now. So Reach is getting obviously wrecked pretty badly. I did like how they essentially said, though, that it's not a full-blown invasion yet. One of the comms relays was knocked down. They were able to sneak some forces in. Now they're targeting the power plants. Sorry, to bring down the Mac orbital array. I like that. That was a nice little like, oh, the planet's still fighting, you know?
Yeah. This is how we explain that the ships aren't here yet.
Yeah, they're not just fully glassed yet.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's a decent explanation, and it's one that game
it is
Reach
like
is based on.
Yeah. It makes sense kind of from I guess it doesn't make too much sense from kind of knowing what the Covenant is, but yeah.
No, but you know that Reach is like super heavy fortified, right? Like the most fortified planet in the entire human galaxy. Like, and we know Mac guns can take out Covenant Seraphs and their big ships.
Yeah, like a big part of the game is literally trying to stop them from destroying all your Mac cannons.
Yeah, in Halo Reach. Yeah, and heck, don't we use a Mac cannon?
No, Halo 4 actually.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Halo 4.
I was kidding. Halo Reach.
Oh yeah, that's okay. In Halo 4, you do something else. All right.
Halo 4 was the way after.
No, which one I'm thinking? Where you,
it's the giant thing you're on in the desert. The huge vehicle has a Mac cannon on it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah, the elephant, your mammoth, or whatever.
Yeah, mammoth. Okay. My elephant's friend. Oh, the elephant.
Next up is what I genuinely thought was an amazing piece of flipping television and a really good scene. Oh. Clearly, John does not share the opinion. But Keys' speech, right?
It was all right.
I love it. I started to kind of tear up a little bit. I felt patriotic, you know. I was just like, it's like heroic speeches like that is what gets to me, you know.
There was no Independence Day.
Like that.
No speeches on Independence Day.
Funny you say that though. I was like thinking to
Terrible
myself,
movie.
It kind of reminded me of the Independence Day thing. It wasn't up there with it, but it like reminded me.
I think of Pacific Rim when I think of people doing speeches near the end of the world. I love that speech too. Today we're canceling the apocalypse. But
from Lufa.
Actually, I'm gonna stop talking. What did you guys think, Jesse, Amanda, about the speech scene in general?
Amanda, you go. Now, go, Amanda. I dare you.
I mean, inspirational. I don't really want to say anything.
No,
they don't really get me, so I was just watching.
Okay, all right.
I'm like, yeah, it was an inspirational speech. I'm not going to say anything bad. It wasn't that I thought it was bad. I just those types of things don't get me. So
Amanda's very pro-military, loves it.
I did like. Oh, sorry, yeah, John, you were saying something.
Well, I would agree that it didn't get me either. Like, Kaya Santo's performance was perfectly fine. Like, probably the best bit of general acting in the whole show episode for me.
Yeah.
I liked that it went a different route of like, you guys are all gonna die, but it's a good thing because we'll save some people while we do that.
And by the way, this is that guy you always see in the suit. This is just him. He's actually real.
I really like that part, and I like how we kind of spun the angle of like we don't have his suit, but it's like no, we don't need his suit. That's what it is.
Yeah. But it was fine. But yeah, I'm with Amanda on this. Like, I military speeches for the most part kind of make me giggle a lot of the time.
You only care if they're about going to colonize another place as a Brit. I know. Oh, we're defending something. Who gives a shit? Are we going to take over this place?
American
yeah.
Patriotism joke. Like, yeah.
We can have both.
I won't.
Can we do both? Let's do both.
We can do both.
There's over 300 million people in this country, and I bet you most of them not actually that patriotic.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Unfortunately,
it's only the loud ones.
Yeah.
But okay, so the speech happens.
That speech will be remembered.
Remembered.
So I gotta get that soundbite and just play it during the show.
They have right. I should have got that. They have a talk with Keys. Hey, yo, you're way too important. Like, you're clearly one of the only leaders that isn't a piece of flipping crap and letting millions of civilians die. Get on that damn transport. Get the hell out of here. I like that scene.
And Keys was like, "Damn, that speech kicked ass. They're letting me live. I'm out of here." Well played, Keys.
Almost.
And then
almost.
Where is it? Dang it! I didn't get a picture of the Scorpion. But we did get both a Wraith. I feel like the moment they put a Wraith in the episode, they're like, I mean, we've got to put a scorpion in too, right? Like that's just
We're doing a last stand on a bridge. We're gonna have a scorpion,
right? Yeah.
And we're going to keep it in darkness because, oh my God, would that be unbelievably expensive to make practical? Yeah. So it's just going to be CGI. The warthogs look awesome, but that's just a warthog.
That would have been sweet if they would have made an actual tank, though.
We'll drop 50 million on this tank prototype for the government, and then they try and drive it. Like, this controls like shit.
Yeah, why is there 6 pedals?
And only 4 directions.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick, sorry, you're saying the bridge scene in general. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Yeah, like them doing the phosphorus and stuff, and then lighting it up. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, they're on the fog and stuff. But it reminded me of ODST when you have to defend the Oni building or whatever.
That's a good shot. Actually,
you have to destroy and stuff.
Yeah,
that's what this reminded me of. As soon as he started, I was like, oh, this is. I wonder if they got. I don't know if they got inspiration from that or not, but it's kind of defend bridges and stuff like that.
It was pretty much just like we're all gonna die. We are only here to stop you as long as we can, so they can leave. Like that's people are like, oh, what's the strategy on the bridge? I'm like, to hold them off so that they literally just said, anyone who stays here, you're gonna die. We are needing to evacuate all these civilians that we can with every ship we have left. Your only job is to just hold off your death by killing as many of them so that these people can leave. And then people are flipping out online like, what's the strategy? I was like,
speaking of killing them, by the way, for those wondering, it is very lore accurate that the BR has a full auto mode. That is lore accurate. It's not a misconception. All right, it's a little switch usually. I think I'm not a gun person, but I feel like guns have that little switch, right?
There would be a little toggle. It's on an M16.
Yeah, there we go. Speaking of toggles and switches and buttons and clicks, we've got around 40 people watching us, and if you guys have the time, feel free to please click that like button. It really helps us get some engagement, and thank you very much for watching our most watched Spoilercast episode for sure. But anyways, let's move on unless someone else wanted to talk about. One thing I did want to say is like when they threw the white phosphorus and like they all showed up, the people I was watching with had like an audible gasp, like whoa, like it was a pretty cool scene in that respect.
It's been one of the main things I think for people that aren't Halo fans. Like I've seen so many people that in the comments are like that are Halo fans and talking about Halo people Twitter, like wow, I'm surprised they did a season 2 after how bad season 1 was. I'm like, season 1 was enormously successful. It was huge. I know like you might not like it and all that stuff, but like if you actually pay attention, Paramount made it very clear. Yeah, this was our biggest show of the year. Like outside of the Tyler Sheridan
marketing
verse
for this season, that should tell you enough.
Because Paramount skews like 60 plus. They get all the really old, especially the people that really want to think the past in America was great, even though boy it wasn't. So they got their 1886s and their Yellowstones and their, dumb shit with boobs and old people like those more than young people, oddly enough, in marketing. But like Halo was the one that could skew younger.
Yeah,
it didn't skew super young. It actually is still really popular with like 40 and older, but it was able to get some, teens to late 30s, and so it's huge for them. It's been a pull people in point. I mean, how they gave Game Pass Ultimate perk to give a month to 30-ish million people almost. So like it's something they are really all in on.
I was gonna say we had a pretty funny scene with and Saurin. I like that. I like in general Saurin's character in this season when he's not tied with Quan. I feel like that didn't work too well. Let's see how it goes in the next few episodes, but he's a great actor, adding like a nice comedic element that no one else in the show is. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it was like
Vanic had a little bit without trying to be funny. He was just like
sorry.
He will be remembered.
Okay, anyways, a bunch of Jackals show up at the top of the ship, which I kind of liked that Saurin heard them coming first. Because, hey, end of the day, he's still a friggin' Spartan that failed the augmentation, but still,
And I like that they showed the mix of Jackals, too.
Yes.
You saw the more traditional kind, and the ones from, like, Reach, the skirmishers and stuff like that. I also do like the kind of how they made the aesthetic of them be a little bit more
dinosaur-y?
dinosaur like turkey because they had the little
dinosaur turkey.
Yeah, it's what you mean.
It's like, I would have liked maybe a little bit more of the classic longer like snout, like alligator kind of snout sort of thing. But
what's interesting is their design is different from the first season. The first season they were kind of more elongated, less dinosaur-y, I suppose.
there is like I think like
Turkey vultures, yeah,
like
that fits.
at least like 3 different kinds of jackals and stuff. Because like in Halo 4, I think these ones seem a little bit more like the Halo 4 version.
Yeah.
I think those were kind of like canonically a slightly different or something.
Yeah. Okay, and now we are at the first, well, actually, really the biggest controversial part of the episode in general. This is flipped, but for those who can't read it, it says error. Fuel lines connected.
Yeah,
Ignition denied. Something.
Mhm.
Okay. Essentially, someone forgot in the big haste to take the fuel lines off and the fueling thing, which is honestly pretty
Right.
reasonable. And someone needs to go.
I don't know
and...
if I guess you could say they forgot,
Well, he was also dead,
Yeah,
shot right in the chest.
was-
at the
Oh, you're
bottom
the
of it.
gunnery surgeon. You're
Yeah.
right. He was dead.
Yeah, he was very dead before he got to.
I didn't even make
disconnected.
that connection.
It's like death is one way of forgetting.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
No.
Before we start,
Lucius is saying nobody forgot, they died.
yeah, my bad.
The people that were preparing the ship outside.
In my head, I'm just like, it's reasonable that they
They
didn't get a
did.
chance to. They forgot or something, or in the heat of battle. I totally forgot. He's just dead next to the fuel.
No, he
pump.
just ran away screaming, going, ah!
Before we dive into the big controversial part, another super chat from Spartan P451. Thank you. Is grew up with the Halo. Still appreciate the show to introduce the wider audience to it. Tried to explain it to others. Does not work. Hope this helps. No, hope this helos.
Well, yeah, you said it the right way he meant. Nick is he must read what's on the page.
Really?
And it's like,
Oh my god.
you can tell
those
what they meant to
questions.
say. They just
Dude,
had a
just
typo, but he will
skim
still
through.
read every
Nick, please.
letter. Yeah.
But okay, yeah. So Keys takes it upon himself to go undo the things, probably because he doesn't want to send anyone to what's probably a certain death. I get that. He's already showed earlier in the episode where he's willing to fight front lines. Goes there and gets surrounded by a bunch of jackals who, I don't fully get this, aren't just rushing him. Maybe because he wasn't being antagonistic himself, which I get. Didn't have a gun in his hand, wasn't shooting back, was kind of just standing still, doing his thing.
He's very handsome. That disarms people.
It's because he was standing still. They're kind of like dinosaurs.
Exactly. That's the connection I made too. And then he lets the fuel injectors go, fills the entire air up with some kind of super potent gasoline. And then I think his exact line was, "Anyone got a light?" And he pulls out a very Keys cigar.
Pipe.
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 I know this. I know that.
And that got a light is a straight callback to Twin Peaks season 3. Got a light.
Interesting.
No, they just say the same line,
God,
but
I'm
no,
way
it
to
is not a
go.
callback to that.
Anyways,
Hell of a show.
And then he blows up off screen, technically, but he blows up. Halsey's distraught, tells Saurin, "We gotta save him." He's like, "Nah." They leave. The door closes.
Yeah, he like yanking her, and she's like, "No."
Oh yeah, that was
Oh,
kind of a funny
emotion.
scream. But he blows up. He lights the thing, and this was my first completely genuine surprise of the episode because I did not see this coming at all. Like no way in hell. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I thought I didn't think that they would kill him here. I thought he was gonna escape with them
do the
off
key
planet
stuff,
somehow, and be a bit more integral to like them after this episode. But when they killed him, I was like, oh, well, as soon as he left the ship, I was like, oh, he's dead.
See, no, so I'm thinking, I'm like, this is clearly supposed to be like a death thing, but I was still convinced they wouldn't kill him. I'm like, there's no way. They're just like, making it seem like he might not. And then I'm like, at one point when he takes a cigar out, I'm like, oh, flip. They're doing that.
Noob Cybot in chat doesn't think he's dead.
To be fair,
He's dead.
television rule, you don't see a body.
Yeah.
You can't fully assume
Most of the time, it's like if you don't see it happen, it didn't happen. But it's like,
He was
I
standing
think it
on
happened.
grates. Kick one of those open, jump down, do a woo.
And we did hear the Jackal speak Sangheili before he blew up. All it said was speak Sangheili, but we don't know necessarily what it said. But for now, let's just go with the assumption that he is dead. So they killed Jacob Keyes. I don't know his middle name. Admiral in the show, Jacob Keyes.
Jacob Admiral Keyes.
Tiberius.
There.
Just to rip it off from Star Trek.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
fair enough.
Like,
They killed him in the Fall of Rage, which is obviously a big departure from our game's canon and our book's canon. Even though he technically died.
Yeah, he's supposed to live for like a couple days later.
Literally, about a couple of days,
Yeah.
maybe 3 hours of game time. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. When I thought about it, I was like,
I've got almost no roll, Spartan.
Yeah.
I was
Like-
going to
like,
say
I
the
guess-
kind he's I don't want to say he's been written into a corner, but they've made it very clear that they don't have any use for him. So it's like, what is he really going to accomplish in the future? Because they don't care about him.
I'd argue a bit of the opposite, where it's like having someone that on your side in high command would be too beneficial to our current team right now. So just they got rid of that aspect at all.
They got knocked down.
Yeah, just one more kick in the shin.
Yeah. John,
I hated it.
let's okay.
I hated it. It felt like everything in this episode. We haven't even got to the rest of it, so I guess I'll
not
wait
too much
to
left,
save
but yeah.
this complaint from the end. But yes, I know it departs from the gaming canon, but it just felt so. Like as soon as he gave the speech, I was like,
Wait, that's good.
okay. He's
I know. I was doing it for a second to make it fun.
yeah. As soon as he gave the speech, I was like, all right, this guy's out. Like, why? Like, what does this serve? How does this serve the story? And then, I get to it as like, I don't know how it serves the story. I guess we'll find out.
Would you
But,
argue that
like-
it serves the character better than his death in Halo CE? Because his death in Halo CE kind of
the death in CE was gruesome and brutal.
Yeah,
and
but it
showed
sucks
the
for the
true
character.
horror of the floods. That's story's purpose.
But we're not at the
But-
flood
Well, they've
yet,
got a
so
lot of
for-
people they can make get floodified.
Exactly.
Okay, my point would be we've got a lot of people that can make floodified, but like what? Another main character, a random character?
His daughter,
Like
Miranda Keys.
who might be
Yeah,
a captain
yeah.
at
Do
this
it to
point.
Miranda
Just saying, she got
Keys.
name dropped in this episode.
Remember, if you're a main character, you die. You're going to be a person of
Also,
color. So
Miranda
Miranda
Keys
Keys
is
is in trouble.
Oh my god, this episode especially. Happy Black History Month, guys.
Oh yeah. This,
Sorry.
I'm just sad they killed Asante live on TV.
But
Like my eye candy is gone. I'm just
Honestly,
Now you got to
Miranda's
stare at
dead.
Nick, and you already do that all the time.
Miranda's dead in Halo 3 is like one of the worst things ever. So if they change that up a bit, I would not be mad.
well, I mean, with how the show's going, it'll definitely probably be
Oh, yeah.
changed.
I hope she says to war.
That's the best line in the whole game, and I will not be convinced
To
otherwise.
war.
war.
Ma'am, what the hell?
I always imagine the scene after that scene from the games, like, ma'am, what are our order? Where are we going? To war. And then like the camera keeps rolling, and they're like, no, seriously, like, what do you want us to do?
War.
We've already been in war
Amanda, I think I cut you off. Sorry.
for
She's dead.
50 years.
Amanda, were you going to say something? I think you were going to. I cut you off.
Mm-mm. No.
I'll just say, like, I like this end to the character better than the game's end. Like, as particularly speaking, as a fan of the character, this is not as horrific, gruesome, friggin' get corrupted by the flood and punched through the head by the chief and you get in the games. This is like you go out on your own terms. You do what you think you had to. You know what I mean?
it was what he said in his speech. So
The only people that on the ship that were soldiers, as far as I could tell, were him and Reyes. So that's why he went out, because he's like, I'm not going to send you to go die. I'm going to go do this.
Yeah,
like FleetCom, knowing how FleetCom is, and they left everyone to die, I'm pretty sure he's like, yeah, with how shitty Oni is, they would probably just off me or put me in prison or something anyway. So, because he,
he took a lot of them out with him so they could get out.
And that fed the people who survived all that delicious jackal meat.
Nice roasted turkey.
Do admit, John, like, for example, him being dead means, of course, no Keys loot, right? Which fans
Thank
of the book
God.
series were, kind of waiting for. I know I was. At the same time, though, at this point in the story, I was never really expecting it to be in the show. Also, because it's not, like, the coolest thing in the world. I mean, it was cool on paper when I read it 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Not as much anymore, I want to argue.
When you were a little applehead and you were just, like, oh, wow. Oh,
He
whoop.
turned it around.
And you're
But,
like,
sorry.
yeah.
It's still a good book, though, for those who want to read it. I'm not going to spoil Fall Reach the book. It's still a great book. I know someone in chat, I think Spartan, who gave us a super chat, said he just bought it alongside Contact Harvest and Coal Protocol. My advice, Spartan, is to buy the Nyland trilogy in general. Probably the best trilogy in Halo books.
That's good.
Barring Greg Bear.
Which is interesting because it was that citation that Trent was written. All that stuff was written kind of almost side and side with Bungie and stuff, but like they didn't really care too much what was written in the books.
The Fall of Reach book was written in something like 5 or 6 weeks.
It's insane. Insane. Apparently,
and you can tell when you read it now and you're not 15 anymore.
Yeah.
You can tell it was like it's sloppy, but the bones of a story that many fans have come to love is still 100% there.
John, you like it sloppy.
It's true.
And it's carried hard by military jargon, I want to say. But yeah, anyways, that's he's presumed dead for the show. That's one of the major departures, one of the major controversy points of this episode. Let's move on. Big explosion, another jump cut to explosions, grenades blowing up doors. Halsey genuinely showing emotion. I kind of like that. I feel like they're trying to make people care about this character again. From an emotional standpoint, I don't know if they'll succeed.
It's like they're trying to undo the sins of the
first season in a way. Yeah, 100%. Reach is getting destroyed. A pretty cool shot of the destruction, and then a bunch of more Jackals and Covenant show up again in the last moment. They're attacking them. They fight. There was this pretty cool moment, I feel like, where Saurin just like instantly got into step with them. You know what I mean? Like years of training was still there, just like it was like they never left. And you're right, I haven't switched over to the pictures. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Pictures are here now. For those who didn't see, here's a shot of the cool city being destroyed. But anyways, Saurin and Chief back in step. I'll just quickly run through it. The Jackals show up. The Arbiter and 2 elites pop up. Arbiter looks pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I like the
they
design.
made him taller and everything.
Yeah.
To show like this guy's a main guy.
Yeah. So my sister was like, "How do you know he's like? How can you tell the difference?" I'm like, "The gravitas. That's what it is. You can just feel it.
Yeah.
You know?
He's taller and his armor looks slightly different.
Yeah, 100%.
His mandibles have armor. So
Chief
they went a little extra.
Rushes 3 people carrying swords. Probably not the smartest idea, but hey, remember what we saw earlier this episode?
I'll move Cotton. Let's see how it pans out.
Thinks he's invincible, right? That's straight up. Thinks he's invincible.
Heads, motherfucker.
Oh, speaking of, that was a good joke. I'm not gonna lie. I cracked up when he threw the coin to Perez, and as he's walking, just under his breath, heads. Like it's just.
That was pretty funny.
Anyways, Chief picks up an energy blade, which is hype as hell. I was waiting for this moment. We saw it in the trailer. We talked about it in our podcast episode. And then he gets friggin' rejected by another elite with looked like a charged
plasma pistol, I think.
Yeah.
Pistol.
Like straight to the chest.
No, it's if you look, it's right there.
It's him in the side.
The side of the chest.
Yeah, it's like here.
Yeah.
Blech.
Yeah.
I kind of I wish it was a grunt that did it. It just would have felt better if it was a grunt because
I got him.
I don't know.
And then they look at the gun like, did I get him? I got him.
It's like,
have we seen grunts this season?
No, not yet.
I was actually going to say I kind of missed the grunts. I didn't want to say anything back. It didn't really make sense, but I think it would.
I think
make
it's because they were the commando teams, and grunts don't probably make it the commando teams.
Grunts are flipping.
There are commando level grunts.
There are.
They're yip.
Commander level.
What's his name? Got his name.
Yip yap.
Yip yap, definitely.
Also disconnected from the food nipple.
Contact Harvest, great book. Anyways, the elite just doing his friggin' job. I'm just saying. You see,
I don't know. I would kind of like argue because like the way that the elite society is, both honor and everything like that, it just almost to me felt kind of out of place that the elite did that. I mean, yeah, they're all there like shooting people and stuff, but
the reason why
I don't know, it just kind of felt like that elite probably would have known. And
I fully get it, but apparently elites have been killed for doing this in the past, which implies like in core canon, which implies that there have been elites that have done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like, this is my mission. You don't get to decide what happens.
Like, to be fair, maybe he just saw the open shot and he's like, click. click. Like, just click.
Klingons are all corrupt, like we see it all the time in the lore. So
can't trust a Klingon.
Anyway,
John's got an
for Worf.
anti-forehead extremist view. Don't listen to him.
You kidding me with this forehead?
I don't see any ridges.
Yeah, you can see online. Anyways, the Arbiter looks at this elite, this poor guy, and you can just kind of tell. Even the elite has like this, like, oh flip, like this voice dialogue and saying, "You look the moment switches to him," and then boom, chops his head off in one clean stroke. Really cool.
That'd be
scene.
funny. And saying Haley, fuck.
Yeah, essentially. I want to say, so actually really quick to the sword battle, because I think that was a disappointment part of the episode, right? You see Chief grab a sword, you think he's going to like duke it out. And I'm going to bring it back to what I said earlier. If this was the last episode of the season, I'd be right with John in the sense of being really disappointed there, assuming he is. But because it's episode 4, I am fully convinced later in the series, we're going to see him fully armored, grabbing a sword, and dueling this guy. If that doesn't happen, again, I'll take the L, but I am fully convinced we will see a version of that in the next 4 episodes.
I think what you're going to see is they're going to go to fight. Chief's going to take his helmet off. They're going to kiss.
How? Anyways,
with the legendary ending of Halo CE.
Yes.
Come here. Big hug. Hug it out.
At the same time, I want to say it's kind of genius of the showrunners, because they know, right? You see your main hero grab a sword, about to go fight the guy, and he gets like rejected. Audience is going to be like, bro, what the hell is this? So then they give you an audience surrogate to kill, and this guy does it for you pretty brutally the instant after that happens.
Yeah.
Also, you notice how like his neck was still attached technically? It looked like a piece of flesh.
Yeah, hanging in by little fleshy bits.
Another Spartan chat from Super Chat from Spartan. Honestly, you might as well call them Spartan chats from Spartan P451. We need Mohawk John for episode 200. Jesse, you on it?
I'm trying. Like my hair only grows back so fast. Like...
if you massage it, apparently it goes faster.
Okay, I'll just sit here for the rest of the
Based on Nick's plan for having us be invaded by industry people, it's going to be tough to keep the thing in the right place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could be a busy show.
Next up is probably my least favorite part of the entire episode, which I enjoyed really well, is, again, Maki. Not really a fan of what she's doing here, and I'm fully with you there, John. That is not Russian on the screen. That is it inverted. The Arbiter was about to... Sorry. The Arbiter was about to kill Chief. Speaking of, did you guys get the impression he recognized him? Because he said something right before they started fighting. He's like, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, probably. It sort of felt like there was definitely that recognition going on, like game recognizes game, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Along those lines, or maybe
that's the lucky one.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of assume that demon is what. Yeah, exactly, is what I'd translate whatever the hell you said as.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I might go back and like look at his line from the voice. Anyways, that's different. Maki says no.
They know him. We got to chat. They know him as the Seaman through Maki. Diamond Law. You got it wrong twice. Yes, demon.
That's funny. Anyways, Maki says stop. Not yet. Chief and her look, and Chief's like, the flip, and she's like, oh, and then whatever. I have no other way to interpret. I'm not a fan of that storyline right now. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt because the show's done a lot really good this season. So I'll let them finish it.
Has it done anything really good this season, you fucking liar?
That's not cockney.
I'm sorry. I was reading John's thoughts. I'm sorry.
John needs an anger translator for sure. Okay. And then Vanic picks up a needler.
What? Wait. What if Maki starts bleeding from the nose in one episode, and then John just immediately jumps up and goes, "Yeah!" Because she's a Flash clone.
Okay. Vanic picks up a needler, and he didn't reload it before he started pressing the button, so the super combine didn't really go off. But jokes aside, a needle goes in Arbiter. Arbiter grabs a needle, stabs it in Vanic's heart. Needle obviously blows up, which is very lethal to a Spartan without armor.
It wouldn't be Reach without someone dying from one needle.
Yeah, that's a good point.
very, very full of reach.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kat.
Yeah.
that death was earned.
Yeah.
She was just standing there and got shot in the head. Oh, so earned.
Yeah, with the emotional music. Anyways, obviously, the needle explodes. It's right in his heart. They make it pretty. This isn't Keys where you don't see the body. They make it pretty clear he's dead. To be fair, Linda also seemed like pretty clear she was flipping dead in the Fall of Reach, and that we know how that turned out. But the last scene is Vanic, a crowd favorite. People love the guy. He was awesome. Dead, staring at the sky, and then Keith up in the air mocking him.
I think
you could see at the end. You could see a little bit of white coming down from Keith. It was going to hit Vanic right in the face, but they cut away.
Sorry for putting a comedic spin on it, but yeah, that is essentially the episode. And it ends with that final shot of Aaron. The bird flying in the sky.
Anime nerd.
I think when we talked about it, we were making predictions and stuff. I think I called that they were going to kill Vanic.
Yeah, I think you did, and I said no because, again, this is me assuming things. I swear I thought I saw Vanic's armor in the trailer later on in the friggin' season. So even Vanic's death, I was like, the flip?
Yeah, Saurin's now there to replace him.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
You saying they all look the same, John?
Get out of here.
But the issue with that is I feel like Saurin does his own story, right? Generally, they don't intersect and stay intersected for too long. So I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see.
They'll have to build a lobster claw glove for a Spartan armor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been talking way too much. What did you guys think of the end of the episode, essentially? That emotional two-hit KO deaths.
I immediately got up in front of my TV and I took a shit on the floor and I threw it at the TV. Boy.
I'll go last.
Okay, all right.
I was very sad.
Yeah, I was sad that they I figured that they were gonna kill Vanic off in the in Reach somewhere. It's like I was hoping that they wouldn't because I kind of wanted to see more of his character and stuff. Like he was a character that I like with the birds and everything like that.
I mean, he was clearly a crowd favorite.
As a fellow bird, he's a man who would love you.
Exactly.
So, how'd you feel when they started the episode with him? Because that's never really a good sign for survival.
I was like, oh, okay. They're, I was like, oh, they're showing him a little bit. It's like, yeah, we'll get a little bit more of Vanic.
That's what I was going to say. He was too friendly with the birds. That's a bad omen when you open the show with somebody being really nice with birds.
Gets you in all sorts of trouble being friendly with the birds. True story.
Is that a euphemism?
Just ask about my ex-wives.
Hey, there's too many John impressions going on this week.
I went Australian with that one. That could be like you or Nick.
Yeah, fair. Well,
if Nick had an ex-wife, but you do, so is you.
Yeah, true. I think the fundamental problem for me across like now we've got a whole season under our belt plus these 4 episodes and none of this landed for me and I didn't care about anything is that I don't care about a single character. The show, really, in my opinion, has not done a single thing to make me enjoy the character and be sad that they're gone. Not in any real extreme. Like I think back and I feel like there's been nothing where I'm like, this is a cool character. Like they've done cool Spartan stuff, but as a character, I'm like,
you didn't think he's arguing with Ackerson about like the lives of his soldiers or him opening up to Jon about like
because I felt like the whole plot point was so ridiculous that they would keep the entire population and just let them all die. Like I wasn't sold on it, so the whole argument felt completely flat.
But like
me.
As a character, though, specifically, like in terms of Keys and his motivations and his reasonings.
No, nothing. I didn't care about any of them, and I think that's where I am struggling with Halo the TV show in general. Is nothing that happens aside from seeing the cool bits where I'm like, that was a cool bit to see Halo-fied, in a show.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm so indifferent to what everybody's doing. I don't care about their motivations. I feel like some of them don't exist or plot contrived.
Yeah.
I'm just like, And that's just, look, and I get it. Like, I know you guys, like, I can separate TV from fiction and what I know. I just don't think personally that it's a particularly great TV show. Like, I compare it to stuff I have watched. I love lots of different TV shows. And for me, I'm like, I don't know why anybody's doing the things that they're doing. I don't feel connected to any of the characters. I don't feel like anything's grown. I feel like if they do try and do it, it feels ridiculously tacked on, and then they kill him 10 minutes later. Like, oh look, I'm funny now. He's got like Vanic's got like 4 scenes where he's moderately amusing, and he feels like you might get some development, and then they kill him. Was he?
Yeah,
go back.
Was hilarious in the first season.
Was he?
Yeah,
like,
he was. He was cracking.
It for me. That's just like that's just how I feel now.
So that's how you really feel, man.
It's I've kind of just written it off for me.
I figured it out. Halo 4 begins with a cutscene. It's got a guy talking to Catherine Halsey about Jon, and he's like, "Do you think Jon's enjoyment of this show cannot happen because at his core he is fundamentally broken?"
Yeah, like yeah. I just look. It's just how I feel.
No,
I can't put it into better words. I just don't think I can connect with the show. I feel like I'll watch the rest of it, but I am worried that I will constantly come on.
Have you rewatched any of the episodes in this season?
Yeah, I rewatched the whole first season again before season 2.
What about this season?
I watched it with someone who's never played any Halo or read any of the books, and she was like, "This was really good fun."
Well, Chad hates you.
But even
they want us to fire you from Xbox Era.
Fine.
Holy shit!
That's fine.
They want us to kill you?
No,
we're not
honestly,
doing that.
John, the only thing I'd say
Chad.
is maybe just completely dissociate any expectations plot-wise from the games and things.
Have you thought about having a lobotomy?
I don't have any plot expectations anymore for this show.
Because I feel like a lot of the things in this episode and a lot of the season in general has been set up from this specific season. Ackerson leaving the Spartans to die was clearly set up from episodes 1 and 2, where he literally says a line, it's just a guy in a suit, right? We can put anyone in this suit. Even if anyone following my Twitter, I've been arguing with this guy for 3 hours today. It can't be anyone. It's got to be a Spartan with augmentations. Okay, yeah, so grab a Spartan, give him augmentations, guys. Not the end of the world, but anyways.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Arguing with people on the internet for 3 hours is
to be fair, it's
a good way
work,
to spend
so
Friday.
Paid for it.
I don't care enough to join, and argue with people on the internet about what I think about the Halo TV.
Yet you're on this show.
No, don't worry about that. That's okay.
And I would understand if people would be like, "Don't come back. You're too miserable about this." But I can't express it in a better way than I have. I'm just so indifferent to everything that happens that honestly, I didn't go or ooh. The only moment that I was like, that was all right, was the fight in the initial fight with the cloaked elites that came in. Otherwise, I was just honestly, that was just me. My missus was sitting next to me going, sucks. "You really hate this, don't you?" And I was like, "I'm just liking it a lot, yeah." But maybe part of it's that I've looked forward to seeing the fall of Reach happen, and
I see what you mean.
This was the worst possible iteration I could possibly imagine happening.
I am not, because I thought the story in the book was and I thought the story in the game was ugh.
The story in the game.
For me, I hated Halo Reach. The moment that I played that game, I was pissed. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? They literally crapped over everything I liked about this book on purpose. I've grown to like it since. But
it's same here. I've gone to Reach stuff. The game. But I wanted to add a little bit to John's some of his points. Is that the mainly with the killing off of some of the characters or some of the death. They looking back, a lot of them didn't really feel that weighted. Now because with Vanic and stuff, I'm just upset that they killed him because I wanted to see more of it. Because they haven't shown enough of him, in my opinion, to make his death feel a little bit more worth it. It almost seemed like they weren't showing his death, so that way they could just kind of write him off a little bit easier and not put a bunch of focus and money into these other storylines. Do you feel like
they're setting Riz up to be that character, or they're focusing more on her this episode, this season in general, and then episode 8? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe if they do kill off another Spartan, then
if we gotta get to see, they all gotta be dead, right? Isn't that kind of how it goes?
Yeah, but then again, too, it's there's a lot of ways that some would argue this was supposed to go and that it didn't.
Oh my god!
But I would think that Riz is, if they do kill her off, it would be a little bit more impactful because of what they're showing with her. Obviously, they're not going to kill off Jon.
Yes, that's the only person in the show at this point that cannot die. I want to say, because I feel like Halsey's third game.
He told you earlier in the episode, he's like, I'm never going to die. I go into battle every time. All good.
To be fair, actually,
you know what? Yeah. He didn't say the actual line. They cut it out because it was too on the nose. But he said because I read ahead in the script. And then they had to cut that part out.
He responds, man. He has those memories of his past selves that are dead. Really quick, Spartan. Another Spartan chat. So for season 3/Halo CE, we need to revive Keys, give him Cortana, and have Chief in cryo. 4 packed episodes to go. I don't fully get that.
Yeah, like I've been reading the chat, and look, I don't mean to bum you out. And look, this is the thing, and I'm not here to just rain on everybody's parade if everybody's absolutely loving it.
They are
just
this episode in particular. It's been really well received.
That's fine. It's okay. I'm just, I'm not trying to bum you out, and I apologize if I have.
You think they're going to get rid of the whole silver team besides Kai and Jon?
I think they'll
keep the white people around. Yeah, Hollywood would do that.
I think they'll be pretending. In a sense where like the season will end, you're assumed they're dead, kind of like Linda in End of Fall of Reach, and then maybe when season 3 comes out, turns out, hey, Kai and / or Riz is still alive.
And Vanic comes back as a cyborg, and they change his name to Fred.
I was just thinking, in terms of like we were talking about deaths in TV and the impact of them and how these didn't feel like they had any weight. I think to quote
you were saying that, yeah. I don't know if that.
Me too. But he used the word weighted, and I think that's good. But like I think back to the first season of Game of Thrones before it went all viral and everybody went crazy about it, and then it went bad. Right when they were doing the like for like almost to the book, so the first 5 seasons, right? That like, and spoiler alert if you haven't seen Game of Thrones. Think about that moment where Ned Stark's head actually gets chopped off, and you're like,
yeah,
right, like that.
If it wasn't Sean Bean, I would have been way more surprised.
Absolutely granted, but the character was so well developed that when that moment happened, Jon, you were like, "Why?" But I don't feel like, as an example, Keys from season 1 to now, I don't feel like any of that level of development has happened in any way, shape, or form. So I was just like...
No, but Jon, Game of Thrones, especially the first few seasons, is like pinnacle television. I'm not really going to compare most things to that, especially things that aren't like straight up just prestige TV. You know what I mean? I know exactly what you mean. Ned Stark's death is like, to be fair, I didn't read...
Yeah, Halo isn't going to be Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Why is this movie not Godfather?
No, come on. That's a
No, I mean, you can say the argument for literally every single other show in existence. You can say, this character death, not as good as Ned Stark. Because no character death is as good as Ned Stark. No one saw that.
No, that's
the Night King.
You're misunderstanding the point. I'm talking about...
It doesn't matter about
budget. Ignore budget.
Right.
I'm talking about character development. That doesn't rely on CG. I'm talking about well-written character development.
He was also the main character of the show. He had the most runtime the entire time. It's like killing Chief off. That'd be a big surprise, right? Because he's the most developed, you could say.
Yes, I agree. But I'm just saying, like, I compare it to that. Like, that's without that extra character development. That's the point. Without that kind of character development.
It's sort of like it's sad because he fought so hard for the Spartans and now he's gone, and that's why it's sad. I do see your point that the characters do seem a little hollow to me too, and it's like we're sad he died because he pushed so hard for the Spartans in this
and I think season 1 did no favors on character development, and it's been 4 episodes of season 2 to try and flesh them out, but you're also trying to tell a story at the same time, so it's a big ask.
And I think that's probably where I'm rubbing up against it even more, is because I think because they've got to try and do that and keep pace, that sometimes that's probably where some of the tacked on, for me, feelings are coming from.
And they have been shorter episodes. Because they were very expensive action ones, and to keep the pacing, you can't just then do a long scene because then you get the one in the shop. I do think now we'll get slower. Like I won't say anything. I assumed after the end of episode 4, huge action episode, we're gonna get slower things, so you can do more development.
That's how television's been for decades. All right.
Yeah, that is typically how it goes.
Maki Lannister.
Cliffhanger a little bit and then goes back to slow before
interesting, Jon. I'd argue that the one character they are developing pretty well, even this episode, even though he wasn't in the episode at all, is Ackerson. Like, just that decision of his to take the armor with him, like, brought an element to his character where you're like, what? Are you kidding me, dude? Really? You know what I mean? So I feel like season 2's writers, when they're like given something that doesn't really have the baggage of season 1, they can do a pretty competent job, you know?
Kinda, but then I would say like Ackerson also in the space of the 3 episodes that we've seen him in, he wasn't in this episode. Mm-hmm. We've seen him come in, moustache twirl, kill his dad, and abandon the planet. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's some character development.
All for good reasons. All for good reasons.
Good reasons. You know, like
for logical reasons based on how he and Oni see the situation. I wouldn't call them good.
I'm still assuming Cortana's a trap, personally, which is
it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. You know, like, and I will try, like, and I do try every time to come in and be positive. I think the bear has ruined TV for me. That's what's happened. Really? It's ruined TV.
You and Nick, I like that show that I've watched. It's very good. I don't. You guys are so over the top about it. My God,
was one of my favorite.
It's a good show.
That was a television.
It's a good show.
What?
There's an episode
Twin Peaks season 3
in The Bear, which is one of my favorite episodes of television. Period. Like, it was just.
I never even heard of that show.
What, The Bear? Oh, Amanda, you'd love it. Promise.
Also, I've never seen The Godfather. Does anybody want to?
I haven't seen them either. I'll be honest. I've never seen them.
I didn't care for it. I did not care for The Godfather.
That explains everything. Here we go, guys.
I've never seen any of them.
You should read the book. The book's legitimately
it's a joke
bad.
From Family Guy. It's fine.
But the Godfather book, I read it. I was like, oh, it was a book, huh? I was like, oh shit, this book sucks. Francis Ford Coppola did a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Woo! I've heard amazing things about that series. Anyways, very off topic. So that was episode 4 of Halo the series, essentially the mid-season finale, you could argue. We're now halfway through season 2. I'd say, hey,
you can't really argue it. It is the mid-season finale.
Mid-season finale. I mean, like, you know, like the CW shows would have that, and like a month break, and then your show comes back. And,
I mean, no.
I'd ask folks what they thought of the half season, but I feel like we've already kind of.
Yeah, we've expressed our feelings.
We've gone through that.
You can read my review on XboxEra.com.
Yeah. Anyone else want to? Amanda, if you want to, you haven't talked much. I know the entire episode because I've been talking way too much. What did you think overall of like the episode when you finished it?
Yeah, I think we went.
All right, okay, I muted you. I muted you as a joke. Sorry.
Oh, me?
He's in trouble after this cameras go off. Jesse's
have like the newscaster delay
on the couch.
Okay, sorry, honey. Please go.
Yeah. I was talking about it while we were all talking about it. I think it was fine. I do agree with Jon in a sense that I understand where he's coming from about not necessarily feeling super connected to the characters. I can see that. But otherwise, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying watching it. It's fun. Yeah. I like it. I like that it's not Halo repackaged. You know, I feel like they really needed to do something fresh with the show, and I like this. I like watching it. I think it's fine.
Awesome.
It's a good show.
And that's actually a good point, because like at this point, they're not on Pillar of Autumn, right? They've been referring to this as the fall of Reach and the intrusive stuff. So this is it. This is Reach falling. Keyes is dead. Where do they go from here? And that unknown factor is to a lot of people very like.
It would be more unknown if they hadn't said every episode title on Instagram.
That is true. But no, to be fair though, even someone who like tried their hardest to pick and piece together every single pathway, I am a little like, what did they do? I'm kind of curious.
What? Don't watch this season on.
Already did.
They just give away so much. Holy shit! Did. Yeah. Wow.
But it is still nice though, like being such a huge fan of a property and not really knowing where it's gonna go, and at least in my opinion, still having it made quality. Because season 1, season 2, I really am.
Oh, I disagree.
They do go somewhere around. That is true. It's in the opening of the TV show.
They go somewhere around.
Sure, planets around. That's what we're talking about. Planets. Nick, what did you think overall of the episode, man?
Like obviously a lot of death to show, Reach and that it's full of a lot of death. The people they killed off, it's like questionable. there could have been a little bit more diversity. Just putting that out there. I was like, I don't know, just like
one could argue, and I've seen this argument that no matter who they killed off, it's kind of a diverse cast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is, and half of that cast is now gone. So, but other than that,
they went woke and they got broke, bruv.
But other than that, though, yeah, some of the dust stuff did feel a little bit hollow. I like the action scenes.
Yeah.
It did show a lot more of like the military kind of side of it and stuff, which I thought was pretty
in
cool.
Declassified. There's an interview by their military advisor, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been in like special forces 25 years, blah blah blah, doing this." And I've read some comments from people who were like, "Yeah, this actually sounds pretty accurate. Like the speech, the gunnery, like bring them together, things like that." It's kind of cool to see because usually you hear the opposite in big movies and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. You usually do hear the opposite of just like all those breakdowns. Like, oh yeah, this wouldn't happen. You know
what's
like
really cool?
They wouldn't go
and I can
away
go
like
on
that
about this forever, so I'm not going to go on long. Is when he was fighting the Arbiter at the ending, like the movement of the Arbiter, you can kind of tell they made based on the size. Like he slices with his sword, and then he just keeps spinning, and then the second sword slice comes back on the way back, and it cuts Chief's BR in half. Right? Like I rewatched that a few times, and like they were putting in a lot of effort into things like that, the choreography, the CGI, the fighting sequences in general. And this is probably like a broken record, but I feel like, John, I try to just focus on that. If you're not liking the story at all, just appreciate like the visuals. I'm watching Avatar tonight, and I'm only there for the visuals, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I would say
Pros
when you say you're watching Avatar, you're talking about
the TV show. Sorry, yeah. Like I'm not expecting them to do a good job at all with the story, but I'm here for the visuals only, essentially. Right? Maybe that's the mentality you need to have to enjoy the rest of the show. Because I want you to enjoy it. You know?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I watch stuff for characters more than action. Like action's all fun and games, but if you don't care about who's in the fight, what's the point?
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's where I'm struggling. Is fundamentally, I'm like,
that was a good movie. Anyways,
yeah.
I will say I love what they're doing with what they're doing with the swords and stuff.
Yes.
Like I'm always a huge fan of the energy sword, but the detail that they are putting into like going back, I think an episode or two when it was like on the ground and they had it like burn, you know, a little bit on the ground and stuff. It was like a couple frames, but like, you know, it's cutting through the glass and the sword or the BR and stuff like that.
He punches the sword elite, the sword falls. Tripping sheets itself, you know what I mean? Like things like that. Yeah,
it's like the details that they're putting into it with that. It's like I appreciate.
Also, did you see the Arbiter switch his hand when he was about to duel the Chief with the sword? I wasn't sure what that was about. Was that like it was more dominant hand? Was he just matching the hand the Chief was
or
using?
His offhand because Chief didn't have his armor to make it a fair fight?
True. There's a lot of really, really cool like. There's a lot of passion behind the show is what I want to say. Especially if you watch the Declassified and you see the behind the scenes. There's so much. It is such a big show. Like, holy crap. You don't get shows this big often. Right? And I really appreciate this show for that.
If anybody else watches like New Rockstars, if we could just have like a New Rockstars breakdown of every episode, that would be cool because then you would get like a lot more out of it. But if they don't do it, who has the time to do that?
New Rockstars, sorry, I have no idea.
They're a YouTube channel that breaks down like just tons of movies and shows and like goes frame by frame and breaks them all down.
Like dorky stuff, not everything.
Halo Canon had a great series last season where they'd go through every little Easter egg in connection with the Halo Canon as a whole. Speaking of the Halo Canon, Silver Team is now apparently officially part of Omega Squad in our official Halo Canon. Also, speaking of Halo Canon, I cannot believe they decided to give friggin' Vanic's helmet this week. Are you serious? And they delayed it a week too because they knew.
Oof.
Oh man. But anyways, okay. I think we've just about covered it, and we've gone 40 minutes longer. Holy crap! Sorry, John. Man, I did not.
And we've got a big show tomorrow, episode 200 of the Xbox Era Podcast. There's new announcements. If you know how to read, you should watch. If you like reading,
100%. Yeah. There's going to be a really big episode of the podcast tomorrow, episode 200. Huge achievement. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Tuesday, my review for this book, which means I've read this much. I need to read a lot more.
And that's definitely
busy.
Halo-centric. I did want to. I guess there's no time. Ideally, I wanted to touch on some Halo news. That's been comment. Hey guys, Helldivers isn't Halo. All right, that's all I'm going to say. Anyways,
Halo Divers.
Hell jumpers.
Anyone else? Jesse, you're working on some things. John, you got anything in the pipeline?
I would just say, episode 200 is going to be a good episode. Lots of stuff is half done right now on my desktop and will be completed tomorrow in time for the show. But we got. I think we've got some cool announcements that I think a lot of people are going to really, really gel with. So fingers crossed.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm working on some stuff, but it's all embargoed, so I can't say.
Yeah, I'm working on Expeditions, a Mud Runner game that comes later. I got to do the last 2 WWE games. Hopefully, I get to do the next one, and every episode of Halo. Hopefully, for the rest of the season, I'll have reviews when everyone else does.
That's awesome. Anything else you two want to say, Amanda or Nick, before we sign off?
Amanda loves books.
For all the 5 people out there, there might be some big announcements, I think. But anyway, all the 5 people that like books. And the rest
I like
of the
books.
I was going to call it a donation that we got.
Yes,
for
please.
$1 and stuff. From Creaky Legs. It says, "Rest in peace, Captain Keys Asante."
Oh, man, I was gonna read that.
That's
so
what the
much
K
smoother.
stands for. Keys.
He's a Asante. I did spell it wrong though. I think it's an E after the Y, in canon.
Calling him out. He gave us money.
Legs. Jeez.
It's like we didn't call
other
it
than
out on
that-
the last episode. The super chat had to do it. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. All 40 of you guys. If you enjoyed the episode, we'll be back here around this time next week with what's most likely a more subdued Quan centric, or at least Quan aspected episode with Halo episode 5.
I don't think watching the trailer for it, everyone's like, it's got Quan in it. No, and I was like, no, they're obviously a group of people together. It's not just one person. It's not about them.
Episode 5, Valeria.
It's Quan's group.
I think it's called.
Right.
But either way, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please check out our 200th episode of the main podcast tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. I think it starts. Yep. Yeah, exactly. 5 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. UK time. I don't know what it's called. GMT 0.
GMT.
Yes, GMT. Yeah.
UK.
So
time,
I was
whatever.
sneezing, so I couldn't come off mute.
No.
But yes, all of those things.
Okay. All right. No worries. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow and next week.